Hey there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a brand new paper crafting video. Today we are going to be making some cards using the Spellbinders club kits for September 2024. And I'm incorporating watercoloring on every single card today. So let's first take a look at the club kits for September from Spellbinders. First up, the large die of the month called Picture Perfect Autumn. It creates this really cool scene and we're going to do that. Next we have the clear stamp called Autumn Wishes and the coordinating die, which you can choose to get the stamp without the dies if that's what you like. Then we have our Glimmer kit of the month called Friendly Thanks. This has a gorgeous scripty thanks and supporting sentiments. We also have a BetterPress set called Windy Fall Leaves. Love that. There is a stencil set. This is 5 stencils and you use it to make colorful pumpkins. This is the 3D embossing folder called Pumpkin Patch. It is amazing. And then Autumn Chevron. I love a geometric pattern on an embossing folder. So fun. And we have our wax seal of the month, Falling Leaves, which goes so well with this month's club kits. I love the oval shape. Here's 2 others that I am not using in this video but are also available. Small die called Autumn Scarecrow and the stitching die Stitch Sunflower. Now, if you want to get all of these club kits every month, you get like a savings. It's $120, which I cannot believe that amazing price. Plus, they give you like a free thing with it, which this month is this adorable Hoppy Halloween frog. I'm going to use this in my first card today. You can see it right there on this A7 card. First thing we're going to do is the watercoloring part. Remember, I'm doing watercoloring on all 5 of my cards today. So we're going to make a night sky, a little Halloween sky. I'm going with some purple, dark purple. I'm going to add in kind of a purplish blue color, you know, purple that's a little bit more blue, or it's almost navy. I don't know, but they look good together. And then also some black. So first of all, let me just tell you, I am not an expert in watercoloring whatsoever. I did do it in high school art class, so I guess technically I've taken a class. But I really just love to play and I love to get artsy. So that's what I'm going to do, and I encourage you to do the same. However, maybe you're watching and you're an expert in watercoloring, like you've taken lots of classes. It's like it comes to you naturally, and I think that is amazing. But I don't want to discourage other people from just getting out some watercolors and playing and having fun, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just working on a piece of mixed media paper. It's very watercolor like paper. It's just what I had on hand, and even though I'm making an A7 sized card, I didn't feel the need to use a whole big panel because this is going to get covered up with the dies from the large die of the month to create this kind of farmyard scene. So what I'm trying to do here is just have some spots that are a little bit darker and a little bit lighter than others because it's a night sky. There's going to be stars, there's going to be a reflection from the moon and all that. One of the ways that you can really focus on this is to bring in a paper towel and kind of pick up any excess ink. You can also do this with a paintbrush that doesn't have paint on it, and it kind of gives you those bright areas. Also, you can always go back in and add a little bit more darkness or shadows on there, but you always want to start with a light wash, I say, and then you can build up the colors. But also know that watercolor is not meant to be necessarily dark and bold and vibrant. It is a much softer look. Just that's the nature of this medium. And it also depends on what watercolors you use and paper and how much, water you put into your paint. So just have fun with it, play with it. And if you end up hating it, it's just paper, right? I just encourage you to have fun. So here I'm going to show you what I mean by you can pick up some of that paint where it's wet. You can just dab your paper towel in there and pick up some color and leave a nice white bright area. So that's what I did for my little moon. I'm kind of guessing where the moon's going to go. It ended up working out pretty good. So I was pleased with that. And I just need to kind of let this dry. And if you want to layer more color on once it's dry, you can a little bit, but it will re-wet what's already there. So once you heat set it and it dries, it's good to maybe leave it, or at least that's in my case. All right, so now we need to create the scene. So there are two dies in here that create the hills. You'll see me use two of them right here, but I actually only end up using one of these strips, and then I will cut the second layer of the ground or the hills later when I get all my pieces together so I can make it the right size. There's a little half circle in here, that's the moon. We have this large piece that I'm cutting from gray to create a barn. And all the accent pieces for the barn and the fence I'm going to cut from black cardstock. Now, this is the autumn barnyard scene. I don't remember the name of it. But it is, you know, to create an autumn scene. But I thought I would kind of make this like a Halloween scene that's also in autumn, and I just thought it would be really fun. Oh, I didn't mention there's the roof of the barn. I actually cut that from some like silver cardstock, and I just love that like metal look on a barn. I thought that was really fun. If I'm not doing the traditional red and white barn, that is, you know, but this is a Halloween scene, so I wanted to go with something a little bit different. So here's the pieces for the tree, and I don't know if you saw that piece of tape I held up real fast, but the little openings that fall out of the tree kind of look like bats. So I also die cut that from black, and I'm going to use those fallout pieces. Now the one thing I'm not using on this card is the flower that's like a sunflower. It's really big. I will end up using it in today's video, just not on this particular card. So there's my barn. You can see it's got that really cool black frame. If you have a precision tip glue, it will come in really handy with not just this large die of the month, but lots of them, because sometimes they have tiny little pieces. And that's one of the great things about Spellbinders dies, is that they have all those little things that make great detail. So you're going to need them on like this right here, the little like frame for the door and the little window. Super helpful to have something that is tiny like that. You could also die cut these with paper that's backed with adhesive sheets, and that's going to make it sticky for you. So whatever you have and whatever works best for you. So here's that tiny little window that can go above it, and it really just brings this whole barn to life. And you can see how everything's kind of set so it's at an angle. Like this isn't a barn that you're looking straight onto, and that's going to play into the scene that we're creating, because it has a little curved fence, a little curved path to really give it some dimension. Here's that tree. I used some fall colors here. That's kind of a rusty color. I just wanted to have like a hint at Halloween colors, the black and gray, the green, the orange. So it's kind of a fun Halloween night scene. All right, so there's the tree ready to go. And then the pumpkins are really cool, because when you die cut out the pumpkins, you get 3 pumpkin shapes, but then the stems are actually one piece. And it's like, looks like half of a pumpkin. Like, is this a mistake? What happened here? But that just gives you a little bit of space to glue the pumpkins onto it. And you have 3 pumpkins in a row. But that doesn't mean you couldn't cut those pieces apart and still have them for your stem. But I love that it gives you that little space to glue things on. And Spellbinders is always thinking of those kinds of helpful things, which is awesome. So here you can see what they look like. I added a little dusting of color to them to, you know, make them look like they're more in a nighttime scene. I did 1 row of pumpkins with the shadowing on the top and the other 2 with the shadowing on the bottom. I'm going to shadow most all the things that are going in the scene, like these hills, and I'm going to do the sides of them once I get everything put together. So for right now, just the top, and I'm using some tiny little blending brushes here. These are from Spellbinders, and when you just need a little area, or you want to, maybe you're stenciling and you want to add like just an accent color or a darker color, these work great for that too. So here is that curved path or curved road, and I am also adding color to the edge of this one, using black soot on all the things. And you can see here how this is going to help give kind of perspective where that barn is set back in this scene. All right, now I have my A7 card. So this is a 10-inch by 7-inch piece of paper scored at 5 inches. That is what creates an A7 size card. It's one of my favorite size cards, and almost every time I play with the large die of the month, I am making an A7 size card because the dies are big, they're large. All right, now back to our night sky. To really darken this up, I'm coming in with the black soot and adding it to the edge. Also, it's going to kind of help mask the white card edge around it, and that's really helpful in this instance. So there's my sky. It's looking cool and spooky, and then we just need to glue all the things down. So I laid out the moon where I wanted it to go, laid out my first hill, and then you can see I've got that nice little glow right around the moon. Maybe it's not exactly perfect, but it totally works. So there we have it. And then I need another hill. So what I really need to do is just put the first part together, and then I can figure out exactly where I want this to go with a larger panel. And it really didn't work out because there's only 2 hill shapes to do 3 rows of hills, which is what I originally thought I was going to do. So 2 worked best for this card with the dies in this set, but you could play with it. Your scene might work a little bit different. All right, so now you can see I'm going to do the sides of my card with those hills on there. I'll do the black ink, but also it helps when you're creating a scene like this to kind of lay things out before you glue them down. Kind of play with it, scoot things around. Do I want it more to this side or higher or lower? You know, play with that and bring in your little pieces before you commit and start gluing things down. That's one of the key things I think when you're creating a scene, which maybe could be considered one of kind of a harder card to make, but when you have dies like this that kind of take the guesswork out of it for you, it's really handy. So because the fence is curved and the little road pieces are curved, it helps you know how to create the scene. So it's really clever. All right, so I'm going to add my little road piece on here first. And I'm laying my barn out where I've decided I want it to go so I can really get the angle of the road. And then for the barn, I'm actually going to pop it up onto foam squares. This is one of the few things I'm popping up on the scene. And then the fence pieces, they curve right with the same curve as that road. So it, like I said, takes the guesswork out of it for you and gives you that dimension that is so cute on a scene. So there's one fence piece for each side. I cut mine from black because of the Halloween theme, but you can see how you could really translate this into a fall card and change out the colors and make a sunset in the background would be really fun. You could add multiple trees, just so many different things you could do to change this scene up a little bit. So I'm gluing down my tree, and then I'll add in the pumpkins, and they are super cute. Oh no, just kidding. I'm going to add some clouds. There's also clouds in this set. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use them because I really liked my scene, but I also want to try out all the dies when I have a new set. So I am using those here. I did some super light gray paper for these. I mean, you can barely tell on camera that it's not white, and added just a little dusting of the black soot. Here are those tiny little fallout pieces from the tree that I cut from black so I could use them as bats around the moon, and that just makes me so happy. Like, this is the little touch of love that this card needed for sure. Maybe, I don't know, because there's the frog coming. That's so cute. All right, so here's the pumpkins where the shading's at the top. They're going to sit under the tree. The ones with the shading at the bottom are going to sit at the bottom of my scene. And then let's bring in that Happy Halloween frog. He's so cute. This is the one you can get for free if you order the kit and caboodle, which is all of the club kits that Spellbinders has to offer, and you get this with it for free. It's the only way you can get it. And they have a different free thing every month. Like, it's really awesome. It's always like a tiny, it's not always, is it always a die set? No. It has been a BetterPress set before as well too. So he is just the cutest. You can put this little witch's hat on him or leave it off. And there's little eyes and cheeks for him. So if you don't put him onto the hat, there's some larger circles that you put behind his eyes. These right here. If you do add him onto the hat, then you only need the pieces that you're going to glue into there, where you're going to like paper piece them. And they actually die cut out a tiny little hole. So if you wanted your hat to be purple, but those tiny little holes in the eyes to be white, you would glue on those bigger circles behind the frog's head anyway and have those circles be white and still have a purple hat. Okay, there is a trick or treat die in there. The letters die cut into the paper, and nothing really falls away. It's very cool. Also, there is a banner die in the original large die of the month, and I'm going to use that to back my trick or treat. That one has its own saying. It's like a thankful saying, but I wanted trick or treat on this one. So I'm adding that here, popping that up with foam, and then it's time to add white highlights because a little scene lit up by the moon always looks so fun with white gel pen highlights. So I'm going to add that to everything on this card with my Jelly Roll pen. I believe this is size 8. Yeah. And then this is just going to get added to our card base. It's going to go edge to edge, no white border. I felt it looked more like a night scene without a white border. So there's my giant card. I'm probably going to add something to the inside before I send it off because it's so big. It kind of needs a little something. So there's the large die of the month. Now we're going to work with the 3D embossing folder of the month and Glimmer Hot Foil. This folder is gorgeous. Like some of these things are going to be so much more awesome when you're holding them in your hand. So I have that same mixed media paper. It's a like 4 by 9 inch paper. And so I thought, oh, let's make a slimline card, but that's not actually what I end up doing. So here I'm just going to do just different splotches. Is that a word? Of color that are autumn colors. I decided the rest of my cards are all going to be fall and autumn because that's what the products in this month's club kits really are all about. So I just had to throw one Halloween in there. So we're using some like mustard yellow, some bright yellow. And by the way, I did wet this cardstock completely before doing this. That really helps the water just kind of spread out. But you can see there's no hard technique here whatsoever. It's very easy to do. And you could do this with any watercolors that you have. This set I have is from Arteza, and I've had it for a long time. It often gets shared by teenagers who take art classes in my house. Yes, my children. And it's just a really good set of paints. So use what you have though. I'm sure you could even do this with Crayola. I'm sure you could. All right, so adding in some orange here. I'll add in this really kind of, it's like a dark burnt umber ochre color. I don't know. But I thought it was really cool, almost a little bit brown. And you can see the colors are just blending together. And you can always, if you get kind of a like hard edge and you don't want the hard edge, you want it nice and flowy, just wet your brush with no paint on it and you can soften out that edge. All right, I decided we needed a little bit of brightness in here. So I've got this really intense orange that has just a touch of red in it. I'm adding in and I'm loving how this is coming together. But you tell me if you agree with me or not. Does this not maybe look a tiny bit like camouflage? I don't know where you'd use orange camouflage, but you know, there's lots of clothing in different colors of camouflage, so it's kind of what it looks like to me. All right, so this background is almost done, but I love splatter, and I like splatter on watercolor when it's wet and the little dots just kind of bleed out. So I'm doing that with that really bright, intense orange color, and you can see how it spreads out, and some of it just kind of really softens. It's so good. Okay, then we're going to come in with a little bit more splatter. Now, if you don't like splatter, you could totally skip this step for this card. This is kind of a reddish burgundy color, and I just wanted a few hints of that. So if you need specific spots of splatter, just touch down your paintbrush because it'll bleed out. So, and if it doesn't bleed out as much as you wanted, you could come and like mist this with a bottle of water, a spritzer, and like this right here. And it helps everything to soften out. Plus, you're probably going to get some spots that lighten up your watercolor and give it more of that mixed media look. Here I am coming in and softening out any harsh lines. I know it's a little bit off screen, but here you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right, so this is looking gorgeous. And one of the things about a 3D embossing folder is it works best if your paper is slightly damp. Now, some people will spritz their paper with water. Some people will wet it with a baby wipe. My paper was already pretty wet, but I didn't want to put it in my embossing folder that wet, so I heated it up just a little bit. I picked up a puddle of paint that was collecting there, softened out the edge, and then while this is still a little bit damp, I can go ahead and put it in my embossing folder. But I just needed one more thing, and that was some Distress Spritz. This is a big golden yellow color, fossilized amber, and then I just let that set for a minute before I'm going to put it into my 3D embossing folder. So my paper is still a little bit damp, and that really just helps the paper not crack. And the cool thing about a 3D embossing folder is you have some really deeply etched lines and some that are less deeply etched. You get different levels in your embossing. It's amazing. And I just love the look of that one. Okay, this is that Glimmer Hot Foil kit. It has that beautiful scripty thanks and a bunch of different sub-sentiments you can put with it. So this is like one of those sets you could use with so many things and use it for years to come. One that you just pull from again and again to have that really gorgeous foiled look. It adds a touch of elegance every time. I'm hot foiling mine with some gold. Now, by the way, with your Glimmer kit of the month, they always send you a roll of foil. So even if it's not the color you want, every month you're getting a roll of foil. So you're kind of building up your collection of foil, and you can pick and choose from what you have. And every month it might be different. What I get might be different from what you get. So you just build up your supply of foil. It's really nice little perk of the foil kit of the month. All right, so here I'm hot foiling my sentiment. I cut this so it would fit exactly inside the card that I'm making. This panel right here is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. I'm going to make some 4 by 4 cards with that panel. You can see I've cut it down. I've made a mat for it. I've got my scripty thanks. It's so cute. All right, and then I did a second one. I'm going to have 2 cards because that panel was so long, and then I have got 2 pieces to go inside my card. So I can have 2 different thank you cards, and little cards like this I always think make really great gifts. If you have somebody that's not a card maker, they would love getting some handmade cards from you to give away. All right, so I'm bringing back the large die of the month, and we're going to create some sunflowers to go on these cards. So I'm going to cut from the center of my panel that's going to be my matte layer for that main part of the sunflower, because nobody's going to see that. It's going to be covered up. So why not be resourceful and use up that paper? I'm also bringing in some Distress Oxide ink to add a little bit of depth and dimension and shadowing with my inks here. I believe this is Marigold. No, it's the honey. Wild honey. And then we've got some brown here gathered twigs that I'm adding to this craft colored piece, and you can see it just really brings it to life to have that little bit of shading right on there. Love it. All right, I am popping up the centers of those flowers to give them life. There is a stem here. You see like it's all wonky with like a dot at the end. That's so you have somewhere to put the glue on your tiny little stem. It's quite clever. Also, the die cuts out 2 leaves, and I thought, well, each one of my flowers will have a leaf. But I had to recut it. I had to cut it again, actually, so that I could give each flower 2 leaves. I liked it so much better. And then you also have a dot at the end of your stem, so if you're going to add this to something, you have another place to put glue. But I'm actually going to end up cutting that off because my little sunflower is going to be coming in from the corner of my card. So now I'm just going to put together these 4 by 4 cards. They're going to be exactly the same, except the sentiment on the inside, I will change it up. So I'm using liquid glue, and one thing to note when you're gluing something down to a 3D embossing folder background, you might need a little bit more glue than you normally would. You can see I'm kind of putting it on thick there because you've got all those different layers of texture there. So you want to make sure it's going to stick down. All right, so there's my cute little panel. It's going to cover up that sunflower that I cut right out of the middle. No one's ever going to know except me and you. And then I've got a nice matte layer for this card, and then I can put it right onto my card base, which is the 4 by 8 inch piece scored at 4 inches to make my nice little 4 by 4 card, making sure it lays flat using my crease tool there so that I can now glue this down, and then I'll add my sentiment on the inside that says, "For being a friend." So we've got thanks for being a friend. I don't know if that makes you want to sing a certain sitcom song, but it makes me want to sing it. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm adding my sentiment on the inside, and because it's hot foiled, I tend to like to use a tape runner on anything hot foiled. Sometimes you can see the line of your glue through foiling. So tape runner for me right there. And there is my first card. I want to show you my second one because I messed it up. Let's just look at it, okay? When I die cut out the word thanks, my die cutting is off a little bit, but I wanted to show you, don't throw it away. It kind of looks like a little bit of a drop shadow. So even if you get that thanks off a little bit, it still looks fabulous. So there's my two 4x4 note cards ready to go. Let's move on to the stamp set of the month and the regular embossing folder of the month. I'm going to stamp out this large image that has pumpkins and leaves in it. It is gorgeous. I'm going to emboss it right onto that mixed media paper, and to do that I'm going to pre-treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. I'm going to stamp my image with VersaFine Onyx black ink, and because this is pretty textured paper, I am going to stamp it more than one time, and that's what I love about having a MISTI. Even if you don't need to, you can stamp more than one time, and you know, it's game changer. If you do not have a stamp positioning tool, it is a game changer in the craft room. Now I know we've got our hundreds of tools. I mean, look, I have a little tool to press on my stamp for me. I get it, but this one, I have to say, is one that is, I would say it's a must-have. Yeah. All right, so now I am embossing this with clear powder. I'm melting that powder with my heat tool. It's getting raised up and shiny, and it's going to make the perfect reservoir for watercoloring. So bringing back those same exact watercolors I've been using throughout today's video, and I'm just going to color this in. I'm going to watercolor it, and I don't know about you, but I find this to be very relaxing, watercoloring an image. I might even find it kind of hard to stop. Like, I just want to keep painting. It's so fun. So if you haven't pulled out your watercolor paints in a while, I hope today you feel inspired to do that. I think it's just a really fun medium, and you can use it in lots of different ways, which I'm showing you today. So I'm just using this paintbrush I invested a little bit of money in. I went to like a real life art store, like where artists go, because I like to be a little artistic in my card making sometimes. And so I think I paid like somewhere between $8 and $10 for this brush, and it was well worth the money versus buying a pack for $5. It's got, you know, a handful of brushes in it, and so I just keep it really safe. You know, I try to keep it away from the teenagers and keep it just for things like this that I want to color in. And then I'm going to layer up some colors here. I might mix some colors, and I'm just going to have fun with it. So one thing, before I stamped this, I thought I had 3 little pumpkins here, but no, there's an apple in there too, which I think is really fun because then you get to bring in a whole nother color. You've got your orange pumpkins, but you know, color your pumpkins whatever color. I love a blue pumpkin. And then you've got your little pop of red and your apple, or maybe you like a Granny Smith apple in this, for instance. You could do that. So lots of fun with this image, and there's little berries on some of these little vines or sprigs of leaves. And so then you have another opportunity for another color and some red, and it just makes it nice and vibrant. So yeah, just paint this up however you like. I had to refer to my stamp set a few times. I don't know, sometimes when you're trying to color a certain image, you're like, what is this line? It intersects here. Is that part of the pumpkin? And I did color paint part of my paper that is not the pumpkin. So I end up taking some white paint and watering it down and just painting over the little area that is just not the pumpkin. So there's ways to fix things if you mess up, because mine had already dried, so I couldn't re-wet it and pick up the paint very good. So I saved it, and I was really glad because I love how this ended up turning out. You can see I'm just adding shadowing here as I go, softening out the lines, and once the pumpkin on the left there dries, then I can go in and add more paint to that one as well. And yeah, it's gorgeous. So let me know in the comments below if you are into watercoloring, and do you like doing techniques with your watercoloring? Do you like watercoloring stamped images? I would love to know, because I just had a lot of fun playing with this. So let me know about you. All right, so next we're going to see what this looks like as it all is painted out, just doing techniques like I'm doing right here. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, I love it. I love it. I had so much fun painting this. So next we're going to die cut it out with the coordinating dies. Like I said, you can get the clear stamp of the month without the dies. You can also get it with the dies. So it's kind of nice. I like dies. I know some people are really into like electronic cutting. I just like having my dies. I do. So there it is in all its gorgeousness, ready to go on a card. So for the background, we're going to use the regular embossing folder of the month, which is this chevron pattern. Oh my word, but I'm going to make it pop just a little bit. I'm going to use white ink on one side, and that's going to transfer over onto this kind of craft colored paper in a subtle way that makes the background really pop. I love it. I love brushing on in my embossing folders with some ink. Love it. If you like embossing folder techniques, I actually have 2 videos on embossing folder techniques you can try out. I will have them linked for you in the description box below if you haven't seen those. They're pretty fun videos. All right, so now we need a sentiment from the stamp set. You Are Such a Blessing. I thought was really fun. I'm going to stamp this onto my rust-colored cardstock with white ink and emboss it with white embossing powder to really help it pop. I love a white sentiment on colored paper. Love it. So then we can go ahead and die cut this out as well because it's got a matching die. I love a bubble cut sentiment. I love that dies are going in, have gone in that direction where we can just bubble cut it right out. So cool. All right. Hey, have you guys tried out the Scout? Oh my word. I am loving this little die cut machine. The plates are pretty long, and I do find when I'm cutting out something tiny, like I feel like I'm cranking it forever because the plates are long, but then sometimes you need a long plate. Anyways, it's fabulous. It's just the right size. It's really cool. So I had to show that because I'm loving it right on my desk. I don't have to turn around and use my big machine. Yeah, my child did make fun of me for how many die cut machines I have. I might have more than 5, less than 10. It's somewhere in there. But, you know, traveling, you've got to have your big one, your big machine, you know? Yeah. All right, so we're adding a little bit of matte um, confetti pieces here in this brown color. I thought was a little bit rusty. I think it's like a penny. Like, I forget the name of it. I showed it, but it was a little blurry. So these embellishments are from Trinity Stamps. I will try to link them for you below. If you haven't checked out their selection of embellishments, they have a ton. And I have also a ton of those. So they work great for all card making. All right, so let's move on to our BetterPress. Look at these leaves. Oh my word. Now, if you want to make a background where the leaves are just like perfectly spaced for you on an A2 size card, they have this like registration piece that you can lay down and it shows you like first color these ones with this color or, you know, whatever color, then color these ones with that color. And you just leave the registration down. It's so cool. I just thought, you know what? I'm going to leave these right where they lay. I actually moved one leaf. You saw that. And then I'm going to use the cotton paper that uh, Spellbinders sells for BetterPress. And I'm going to, actually no, this was the mixed media paper. I did use the mixed media paper for this because I wanted to watercolor on it. So I'm just going to press this into the paper. I'm not going to use any ink on this one in particular. I wanted to just create a background and do a watercolor wash over that and just see how it looked. I've never really tried that before. So let's try something new. And I thought this was gorgeous just like this. Like you would not have to add any watercolor to this. It makes a beautiful background. Lovely. Oh my word, those leaves are gorgeous. All right, so I'm going to wet the whole thing with my larger paintbrush. I'm going to come in with some fall colors, some red, some orange, some yellow. We're going to blend them together. And I was really worried about it kind of taking over or hiding that BetterPress image in the background. And I think it does a little bit, a tiny bit. But when you turn this in the light, you can really see it. And I think that is kind of fun in a card when there's like a little bit of hidden element to it. And you're like, oh, look at that. That's what this is. All right, so to blend the two colors together, I just mixed my orange and my yellow and then went over that area where they meet. I did the same with the red, and then I was like, the red is just a little weak, so I added a bit more and just played with it till I got it where I wanted it. And then I think I do a little bit of splatter on this as well, but of course you could leave it just like it is and make this the kind of background that makes you happy. So there it is, and I'm going to heat set it a little bit, and then I'll bring in my sprayer of water, and I will say not much happened here. Just a little. I like a lot more splatter on mine, but that's just how it worked out today, so I'm going to go with it. So because of that, we might as well add more splatter. So I did a little orange on this, a little bit of the yellow, just whatever was left on that little palette. And there you can see the leaves in there. So good. All right, so the card that I'm using here is an A2 size card, but it's 11 inches by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5, and I just got a 1/2 of an inch off of one side, and that is giving me a little bit of space to put one of the sentiments from this BetterPress set, and then it can be seen from the outside and the inside. So just like a fun little added something that you can do, and I think it's really fun. So this one I am going to use ink. So this is the BetterPress ink Tawny Brown, I believe, and I will just ink that up by tapping the pad on there. It's so skinny and long. They do recommend kind of tapping and twisting, but I didn't want to scoot it because I had it lined up with my paper. Now this is BetterPress paper, the cotton paper sold at Spellbinders, and it works great. It's a soft paper, so the plate really presses into it, but don't be afraid to try other papers with your BetterPress system, right? It's just paper. Just play, just have fun. There's no stress in stamping or paper crafting. Okay, next we're going to do one of these leaves, and we're going to ink it up with 3 different colors, the red, orange, and yellow. Now these are just the ones that I happen to have. The orange is maybe not perfect for this. It's kind of a softer orange, but I love actually how it ended up turning out. Because that color was the lightest, I actually inked up the orange first and then went in with those more intense colors on the ends, and I think it's really fun. So it is a gorgeous leaf. And then we just run that through, and we have multicolored leaf. Isn't it good? All right, so I really wanted this as an accent for my card, so I decided it was time for a bit of fussy cutting. There's no die to cut this out, but I just had to have it cut out. So I did that, and there it is, ready to go. I'm going to pop this up onto my card just right there in the corner, so it's kind of pointing to the sentiment, which, by the way, says my favorite color is autumn. Isn't that cute? Now I added a little bit of embellishment to this. On the inside, I added a piece of gold paper, just a strip right above the sentiment for a little something special on the inside. And on the outside, I added some gems that are called gold glass. They are like gold glitter on the inside. They're yummy. All right, so next let's move on to our final card using the stencil of the month. I am so happy with the stencil of the month. I think stenciling is so fun, and all the ways stencils have like come along where you can add all the different colors, and it looks, you know, amazing on one background to have multicolored images that you're not having to mask off. It's awesome. And most all of the stencils of the month are like that. Some of them you can use to color in the like hot foiled images. So Spellbinders has got it going on with the stencil of the month. So I'm just doing each stencil with a different color, and I kind of brought in this kind of dusty rose color. It's called Rouge. I brought in some orange. I've got a really reddish orange fire brick, and these inks are all from Altenew. I just was like, hey, let's try these colors, and so I used them, pulled them out, and I love how they came together. I've got a little yellow hair. This is here, it's a honey drizzle, I believe, and the background is just gorgeous. But you could really play with all the fun fall colors or do some non-traditional colors in here as well. There's one stencil that does all the stems for all the pumpkins on here. I love that. Look how fun. But you know, this is a watercolor video, so I had to watercolor this. So I'm going to kind of try to create my own really soft teal color. And I'm just mixing and mixing and mixing, adding a little more, adding some water, thinning it out. And then I've got my super special paintbrush I'm going to use and just go all around these pumpkins. I am leaving a white edge. I think there's only one pumpkin I kind of just barely touched on the side. So I just went slow. I made sure I didn't have too much paint on my brush because there's some really thin areas you want to go between, and I didn't want to lose control of the paint by having too much on there. So having a paper towel on the side when watercoloring, super duper helpful. So there you go. There it is, all painted in. I love this background so much. I really, really wanted to add the wax seal of the month as a part of this card. But I have to say, once I got creating, it just didn't seem to go. So I'm going to go in a different direction, but hey, we're going to watch the wax seal part anyway, because this is something I will use on an envelope when I send one of these cards. This will go with pretty much any card I made. So here I am playing with the wax seal mix that came with my wax seal of the month. Love that they send wax with it. I'm heating up the little wax seal there, where see how it's like up against my little stand where the candle is while the wax is melting. That's some gold wax. And then I'm going to pour this right onto that warmed up wax seal. And then you're going to want a little kind of scrapey tool to do this. You're going to just scrape off any excess. We're really just trying to fill in those leaves. I did have a little bit kind of residual on the face of it, but we're just going to go with it. So next we need something to press it into. So I'm going to use some of that green. Now the wax pieces in this mix are super shiny. I love it. Over on the side, I have a piece of marble, which is something I learned from my friend Lynn of LV Handcrafted, to have a little marble piece. It helps that wax cool and not spread out so fast. And then when you peel this away after 30 seconds or so, you've got kind of a two-toned, yeah, I didn't show it very good, so I reshot that part. So you can see what that turned out like. It's really fun, but I just felt like it didn't exactly go with the vibe of my background. So I thought, well, let's try this again. Here's another way you can heat up your little hot foil stamp, is that what they call it? Yeah, just don't overheat it. If it's too hot, it's actually going to make the wax that you press it into spread out too much. So don't overheat that. It just needs to be a real quick heat up. And then we're going to let that sit and cool while we melt our other wax. Look at how messy I am with the wax seal. Oh my goodness. All right, so here, this is kind of a soft teal, but my background on my card is actually a little bit more blue, where this wax is a little bit more green. So it didn't match exactly right. So I just went in a different direction with my card than putting the wax seal on the front of it, and I'm okay with that. But I wanted you to see these because they are really fun. Look, I had a few spots I missed, I know. But if you make one of these and it's like, oh, that's trash, it's not trash. Cut it up and melt it again and make another wax seal. So I'm just playing with that. I'm kind of learning it and trying different techniques with my wax seal. So I'll keep sharing it because I think they're really fun to play with. All right, so here is a full panel shaker window, but this is actually a layer. So I'm going to be able to get a layer of my card base behind this, which I love. So I had to trim down my panel so it was 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then I'm putting some double-sided adhesive tape on all 4 sides. This is crucial to making a full panel shaker. And then on the pouch itself, it has flaps that don't have adhesive, which I'm totally fine with because I have, you know, already adhesive tape. But one thing I like to do before adhering it is just go around all 4 sides and fold the tabs down. If I pre-fold them, you don't need to crease them or anything, but if I pre-fold them, it makes it so much easier to get this on and get it, you know, straight. So I'm flipping that over. I have 3 sides of my adhesive backing removed, but not the top, because I need somewhere to fill this with some shaker bits. So you saw me just do the 2 opposing sides, and now I'm bringing in my crease tool and I'm really burnishing that plastic down onto the adhesive. And then I'll do my 3rd side, leaving the top open, and we're gonna fill it with some confetti pieces. I had a little something extra in there I didn't want. All right, so these are zinnia confetti pieces. I thought the color was a really good match for this card. And I love using a little tray like this because then I can control how much I actually want to go in the card. It's easy to fill it, and any excess I can pour back into my container. Now it's time to close up that final side of this shaker. I love shaker cards. If you love them too, go over to Facebook and check out my Facebook group. It's called Shaker Card Addicts. You can share shaker cards that you make. We love to see your creations, and then you can see what other people make. People share video links. It's a fun place. So please go check it out on Facebook, Shaker Card Addicts. All right, next I am just stamping up the sentiment from the stamp set of the month. It says Happy Thanksgiving, and I found a color of cardstock in my stash that almost perfectly matches my watercolored background. So I'm going to emboss that with gold powder, and it looks amazing. Oh my goodness, these two colors together make me so happy. So elegant. All right, I put a little double stick tape on the back of this because it's going down on plastic, but if you know me, I like to overdo it when it comes to good adhesive. So I added some glue too and stuck that down to the bottom right corner. And I found these in my stash. I was going in my closet for something else. These were kind of poking out of my little embellishment basket, and I was like, yes, these are leftover from some kit I had gotten from Spellbinders, but this color, this kind of orangey coral color with gold flakes in it, so good. So I added some of those, and they kind of blend in with what's already going on with the shaker, so they don't, take away from that. I did mount this onto an A2 size card base. Somehow didn't record that, but you can see I've got a white border all the way around. It's gorgeous. There's my wax seal. It just didn't quite go with the card, but I feel better about using it on the envelope than on the front of the card. So here's all of the cards I made today. I mean, I made 5 cards, but technically I made 6 because those 2 are the same. There's my Halloween card. The club kits, they make me so happy. Every month, they're so much fun to play with. So if you have questions about the club kits, let me know. I'm going to have the link to all the club kits in the description box below, so you can go check it out. See which ones you like, and yeah, just have fun with them. They're so awesome. I thank you for supporting me by watching this video. If you loved it, you can let me know with a thumbs up. If you think, hey, this video is so much fun, I want more, you could subscribe. That's fun too. And I will see you all again very soon with a new video. Happy stamping. Bye.